Tech Field Day presenter Cerebras is starting to deploy more of their AI accelerators in new data centers across the US and France. The latest CS3 offering from the company has over 4 trillion transistors, 900,000 cores, and 44 gigabytes of SRAM. The largest installation of these new CS3 clusters is going to be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, home of the Twins. And they're going to have 512 of those joined together for an aggregate of 64 exaflops of compute power. Now, there are going to be a couple of sites. One of them is going to be right here around me in Oklahoma City, and the other one's going to be in Montreal. Those are going to be owned directly by Cerebras. However, the other sites are going to be operated in concert with G42 Cloud. Cerebras videos have been some of the most popular ones that we've had on the Tech Field Day YouTube channel for a number of years. And I think a lot of it comes down to them being on the cutting edge of some of this AI accelerator technology, Stephen. Do you see getting these AI accelerators into more data centers as a way for Cerebras to kind of lift their customers up and kind of give them more horsepower?
Well, this is a pretty clever move by the company, I have to say. One of the challenges, or one of the surprises to me in this AI market, is that accelerators haven't been more popular. I would have predicted that companies would be rapidly adopting products like Cerebras, along with a lot of the other accelerators out there, for their AI needs, especially when it comes to inferencing. So as a reminder, we hear a lot about the supercomputers that are used for training AI, and those are really impressive clusters, typically of NVIDIA hardware. But inferencing happens everywhere on all sorts of different platforms. Surprisingly, to this day, most inferencing is still happening on NVIDIA. In fact, it's happening often on a lot of the same hardware that's used for training. And the reason I say that's surprising is because that stuff's pretty exotic and pretty expensive and pretty hard to maintain. Many companies, notably Intel, have created really compelling inferencing accelerators, and many of those have not really found the traction that we would have thought. Now, Cerebras is probably the coolest chip maker out there, just on the face of it, because they're doing what's called wafer scale compute. And if you want to see a bunch of nerds get excited, open up the Men in Black metal suitcase that contains a Cerebras wafer scale processor and wave it around. As you said, we're talking 900,000 cores. We're talking incredible amounts of compute on something that's the size of a dinner plate. And you just don't see that every day, and it's a lot of fun to look at it. That's what they're making. The problem is that they haven't found much market traction. They're now on their third generation of processors. They've improved them every single time. They've made them better, but a lot like companies like Intel, they just haven't found the traction that we would have predicted, that certainly I would have predicted. And so the company is actually moving in a very, very clever direction. They're doing, there is a space where accelerators have found a niche, and that is as a service. So if you look at, for example, Microsoft and Google and Amazon, they're running a lot of AI workloads as a service on in-house or other vendors' specialized hardware, instead of trying to run it on the conventional NVIDIA chips. And that's where Cerebras is going here. So essentially what they're doing is they are deploying data centers full of their wafer scale compute modules and trying to find a good application for them. Is inferencing a good application for them? Well, my friends in the AI space are a little bit concerned because Cerebras doesn't actually have as much memory per accelerator as some competing platforms. That means that you may need to use more cores than you wanted to in order to access enough memory. Now, the company would contend that that's not really a problem because they have incredible amounts of memory throughput. In other words, yes, there's not as much memory per accelerator, but there is just an incredible amount of bandwidth that lets you use memory that otherwise wouldn't be used. And as we know from the latest research at Future Intelligence, as well as what we're hearing about at AI Field Day, AI accelerators, the cores themselves are actually not all that they're not 100% utilized in these environments. In fact, it is practical to borrow memory if you've got enough bandwidth, and that's what Cerebras is saying that they can do. Or they can run smaller models that do fit in their memory footprint. And many of those have a lot of practical applications. In fact, we have, again, heard from customers of the Futurum research side, as well as anecdotally at AI Field Day, that many companies are beginning to want to run smaller inferencing instances. Maybe they're not, the latest cutting edge LLM, but maybe they're a different type of AI as a service. And frankly, the wafer scale Cerebras compute modules would be a great fit for that. So all of this is to say, I think this is a tremendous idea for the company. Essentially, they've built this thing that is really impressive, but really expensive and a little bit scary. And instead of asking customers to buy it themselves, they're saying, hey, just use it. Use it as you need. Run your inferencing here in the cloud and see if it works for you. I think that could work for all of us. And I think that it's a good move by the company. So we're definitely going to keep watching. Again, it's a very impressive technology. And I think they may have found the proper niche for a AI accelerator.